Story time! How the birds got their song. Long ago, when creation was still new and Mother Earth was still young, the only ones that could sing at the time were the humans. One day, the Great Spirit came down to walk the earth just to check things out and make sure things were going okay. And that's when he came upon a native village. And he started to check it out, and he heard the voices of the people as they sang to Brother Sun to welcome to the day. And he sat there listening to the drums, and the rich deep sounds of the men, and the high pitch of the women as they called out. And then he noticed that the birds were also sitting there, just staring, and he knew that they really wanted it as well. The next day, the Great Spirit called for all of the birds of the world to come together. And there's millions upon millions of them. It was like great storm clouds were moving together as one, as they all came to where the Great Spirit sat at the bottom of a hill. And every tree and bush was bent towards the earth with the weight of every single bird. And he asked them, would you also like to be able to sing and have your own song? The sound was deafening with all of them screeching and chirping and crying out, yes, yes, we want one. The Great Spirit said, okay, tomorrow I want you all to gather together, and the moment when Brother Sun peeks over the horizon and the first light shines upon Mother Earth, I want all of you to, all at once together, fly as high as you can in the air, and the moment you can go no higher and you get tired, turn around and come back to Earth. And the moment you do, that is when you will receive your song. And the bird that flies the highest and is the last one there will receive the most beautiful song of them all. Now the next day, just before the sun was coming up, every single bird was getting ready and preparing to take this big journey and to fly as hard and as fast and as high as they could go. But little Thrush was on a tree perched right next to Eagle. And he was looking very unhappy and dejected. And he thought, how can I possibly get the most beautiful song? How can I compare against Eagle with his great strength and that enormous wingspan? How can I possibly do that? And then he thought, wait a minute. Eagle is so focused and prepared on doing this. Maybe if I can hide inside his giant feathers, I can ride on the back of his head all the way high up. And then when he can no longer go any further, then I'll take off and I'll be the last one to be able to get the most beautiful song. Sure enough, Eagle was so focused and training and stretching and preparing for this great big climb up into the sky that he didn't notice that little Thrush flew up and flew to the back of his head and nestled there inside his giant feathers. The moment Brother Sun peeked up over the horizon and his light started to warm Mother Earth, every single bird took off like a starting pistol and rose up into the air. Sure enough, each bird flew as high and as hard as they possibly could, and each one at some point got tired and turned around and glided back down to earth. And the moment they did that, they found their voice. For example, little hummingbird, that squeak and the thump of his wings kept on going, and it was a great beautiful combination. The thump of the wings was like a drum. The squeak of his voice mixed together, and it created this lovely song. It was so unique as he came back down to earth. Little Robin, as she flew as high as she possibly could, again, she got tired and she had to turn around and glide back down to earth. But she was so happy. You can hear the mixture of exhaustion but happiness in her voice whenever she sings, because even though she's tired, she sings long and beautiful because she lasted for so long, and that was nothing to be ashamed of. One by one, each one started to glide back to earth until finally Eagle was the very last one, and he was still going strong. His wings spread majestically and flying up there strong and determined. And when he noticed there was no one else left and he began to tire, he turned around and he started to glide back down to earth. Now little Thrush, who was again on the back of Eagle's head, nestled in those giant feathers, woke up because he was sleeping this entire time, and he realized, oh, this is my time. And he got out from behind the feathers and he took off, fresh as a daisy, and he kept flying as high as he could up into the air. And Eagle saw this, and Eagle was glaring up at him because he knew that Thrush cheated him, and he went flying back down to earth, while Thrush kept on going straight up into the sky. Now, being the last bird left, Thrush went right up into the sky, and the Great Spirit reached down and took him in his hand and brought him up into the sky world, amongst the land of the Great Spirit. And it was there that Thrush learned the most beautiful song ever. It was grace to him, and he stayed there for a long time learning the song, committing it to memory. And when he was done, he was so happy and proud, he glided back down to earth, ready to share his beautiful song with everybody in the world. But when he got there, everything was silent. Eagle was staring at him, glaring. All the other birds were staring at him because Eagle told them what happened, and they all knew that Thrush had cheated in order to be able to get this magnificent prize. Thrush saw the reflection of him in their eyes, and because of this his heart grew heavy, and he flew into the woods, where he hid under the branches of the largest tree, and that is why he hides himself there these days. But sometimes he can't restrain himself from that beautiful song that he heard, and once in a while you can hear the thrush sing inside the woods. And because of that, and since the song is coming from the spirit world, it lifts the hearts of those who wander in dark places and gives comfort to them. This story was told to children to teach them to be honest. It doesn't pay to cheat because it would dishonor them, the gift, and their people. Always be humble when you are granted something so valuable. Thank you for hearing my story, and thank you for hearing my words.